So this is a really, really interesting story, and it's that WWE executive Triple H has revealed that he has indeed spoken to CM Punk in the past 2 years. Now, this is obviously very interesting considering Punk's history and heat with WWE, his litigation, his lawsuit with WWE, his legal troubles, his departure from WWE, and the fact that he really has never seen eye to eye with Triple H, even when Triple H was working with CM Punk in the past. Even when CM Punk was with the company, he didn't see eye to eye with Triple H. Even going back to when CM Punk first came to WWE, there were reports that Triple H didn't like him. There's always been this friction between Triple H and CM Punk, hasn't there? Well, Triple H has revealed that he indeed spoken to CM Punk within the last couple of years. Now, Triple H appeared on Barstool Sports' Pardon My Take podcast. This was yesterday to promote WrestleMania 37 this week, and has revealed that he spoke with former WWE Champion CM Punk within the last 2 years. Now, Punk, of course, signed a contract with Fox Sports to work on the WWE Backstage show in the fall of 2019 as a part-time analyst on the show. Triple H indicated that he may have talked with Punk around that time. He was asked when he last spoke with Punk, and this is what Triple H had to say, quote, "Last time I talked to Punk, a year and 3/4 ago. A funny thing that people will constantly say when his return but in some way," again, this is Triple H, this is a direct quote, so bear with me, "I don't know whether he does or not, but that has to be what he wants. When people talk about, they go, make the call. What says if we make the call, he wants to answer? What says if we make the call, he doesn't go like, yeah, I'm not interested in doing that anymore. Maybe he's just done with it. I think those are conversations that only those people can directly answer. I think if he wants to do it, either we could get a word and we could have those conversations, or he would make that call, or, anything like that. But there has to be a desire to do something like that. This business is too all in to just go, all right, I'll do it." Now, Triple H was later asked about possibly taking Punk's call. He said he can't think of anyone in the business that he wouldn't take a phone call from and have a conversation with. He also indicated that Punk had a chance to return to WWE while working with Fox Sports on the Backstage Studio show that was cancelled due to the COVID-19 pandemic. He said, quote, "CM Punk worked with us on the Fox show, a year ago. There was opportunities there. There were people around each other at all times. Again, I'll never say never, but the desire needs to be there on all sides to make that happen." Now, CM Punk, of course, has been gone from the WWE since walking out of the company in 2014. Of course, that year he was scheduled to face and defeat Triple H at WrestleMania 30. Now, we know what CM Punk walking out of the company did for WrestleMania plans that year. Daniel Bryan completed the Miracle on Bourbon Street. Since then, of course, CM Punk, whenever asked, has said that he's not interested in working with WWE again. He hasn't ruled out wrestling once again in the future. He said it would take a lot of money. He said it would take the right creative plan. He said he would be more open to working with people he's never faced before in places such as AEW or New Japan Pro Wrestling, but the opportunity is there. Now, this is really interesting because the idea that Triple H and CM Punk would have spoken is a bit of a revelation. It is a bit of a revelation. As I mentioned, just the idea that CM Punk would have had conversations with people in WWE, I don't think is a massive, oh, I can't believe that. Because as Triple H mentioned, he was on the WWE Backstage show, and despite that being a Fox entity, a Fox Sports entity, they have the relationship with WWE. He would have had to have spoken at least with someone, a WWE executive figure. I don't know. CM Punk would have had to have at least very brief conversations with someone to make that work. I struggle to believe the idea of Punk coming in to work that Fox show and it just being Fox he deals with. He doesn't talk to anyone from WWE. You would have had to. You just would have had to. Even when, because you've got to remember, he was rumoured to have auditioned for this. He was rumoured to actually done screen tests with Renee Young and that kind of stuff. So even then, there would have been a Fox Sports person there, but there would have been some form of WWE representative there. They're too big a company not to have their hands on stuff and be involved in stuff. So he would have spoken to someone. He would have. Knowing that person might have been Triple H is just very interesting. It's very interesting because, as I mentioned, they don't like each other. They don't like each other. Even when they were working with each other. CM Punk has said a lot of things about Triple H over the years. He's called him, obviously on camera, he called him the doofus son-in-law and stuff like that. That's kayfabe, that's whatever. But in those interviews, in the infamous Art of Wrestling podcast appearance with Colt Cabana, he does this voice, a Triple H voice, oh, I don't know, all that kind of stuff. He's said that Triple H doesn't know what he's doing, or says that Triple H has tried to stooge him off or tried to sabotage him. CM Punk has a massive problem, and I think rightfully so. He has a massive problem with when they were working together in 2011. CM Punk, of course, had just done the Money in the Bank match and then disappeared and then come back, and coming out of all of that, coming out of the SummerSlam match against John Cena where he won, and then Alberto Del Rio cashed in and became the WWE Champion, coming out of that where arguably, not even arguably, CM Punk was the hottest entity in WWE at that period of time. He was the most over guy on the roster, the most popular guy. This is even during the era of John Cena. I mean, this guy was huge. I mean, people were talking about CM Punk like he was going to be the next coming of Stone Cold Steve Austin. He had struck a nerve, not just the nerve of pro wrestling, but he'd struck the nerve of mainstream popularity at that time. Everyone wanted a part of him. And WWE just, brutally mismanaged it. I mean, they really did. I mean, CM Punk's still spoken about and popular to this day, but he could have been so much more. He really could during that period of time, but they mismanaged it. My long-winded point here is that coming out of that, his first feud was with Triple H. It was meant to be Kevin Nash, which again makes you wonder. You know, this guy is just incredibly popular. He's just absolutely exploded in popularity because of the pipe bomb and because of the storyline. Right, what do we do now? We've got him, he's popular, we've got him here. How do we ensure that he is just up there and we can make as much money as possible? Who do we face him off against? Well, obviously Kevin Nash, who then was old and on his last legs. I mean, quite literally, with the amount of knee surgeries that he had. Even then, that was a bad storyline. It was just what it was. It was a bad storyline. So the plan was to have him face Kevin Nash, and then for whatever reason, Kevin Nash couldn't compete in their scheduled match at Night of Champions in 2011. That was actually because Kevin Nash was on, I believe, this blood thinning medication at the time, because his family has a history of heart disease in his family. His father passed away when he was actually very young from a heart attack, so Kevin Nash was on these blood thinning medication, which at the time WWE had was prohibited on WWE's wellness policy, so Kevin Nash couldn't get involved. Obviously, eventually that would be worked out because Kevin Nash would work with Triple H later on in the year at TLC. But so to pivot from this problem, from this match that was going to be CM Punk versus Kevin Nash, they decided, okay, we'll do CM Punk versus Triple H. And obviously the rational outcome of that feud would be CM Punk is red hot right now. Triple H is bulletproof anyway. It doesn't matter if Triple H loses a match at this point, even in 2011, it doesn't matter if Triple H loses because he's Triple H. No one's going to see Triple H lose and go, well, there's no money to be made there anymore, Triple H, he's over. No, because he's Triple H. Even then, he was, 13-time world champion, he was an executive, he didn't need to win, and yet what happened at Night of Champions, Triple H won. And everyone said, what is that? What is that? And obviously, conspiracy theorists would say they were trying to stop CM Punk's momentum. I don't even know if that's necessarily the case. The concerning thing is, and it's funny that we're talking about something that happened 10 years ago, and 10 years later we still have similar problems like this. WWE legitimately, Vince McMahon and whoever was the head writers or the officials or the powers that be at that time, legitimately thought that was the right thing to do. That was the right thing to do. That was the way to continue to elevate CM Punk. That was the way to make more money with CM Punk. Legitimately, they genuinely thought that was the right thing to do, which is crazy. So CM Punk obviously had a massive issue with that, and he didn't forget it. He didn't forget it when he left WWE in 2014 because he was burnt out, he was injured, he had a staph infection and all that kind of stuff. When he had that infamous behind-the-scenes meeting with Vince McMahon, Triple H was in that meeting. According to CM Punk, Triple H said, "Do you want me to leave?" And CM Punk said, "No, you can stay." And whilst he was voicing his issues, one of the issues was with Triple H. He said, "You should have put me over all those years ago, and you stomped it. You stomped me all the time. You stomped everything. This is a creatively stifling place, and I don't want to be here anymore." And he left. He left, and obviously the rest is history. We know what happened. We know about the litigation, the legal cases, and we know about the heat there. I can't remember which documentary it is. It might be in the Ultimate Warrior documentary on the WWE Network, because this is around 2014. It's around WrestleMania 30. Or it's a documentary that was made at that period of time. And there is a poster on the wall in Triple H's office. There's a poster on the wall. It's the Royal Rumble poster from that year. And ironically enough, CM Punk is front and center on that WWE poster for the Royal Rumble. He's like right in the front of it. and there's a post-it note over his face. And I know that some people within WWE went, "You're looking too much into it." That is just too much of a coincidence. It's in Triple H's office. It's the only superstar that has something covering their face, and it's CM Punk, and it's right there. Come on. So obviously, my point there is heat. There is heat. So the idea that they would have had conversations is interesting, but I think that just comes down to, look, these are two businessmen. When you're a professional wrestler, you're an independent contractor, and you have to look out for yourself. You have to look out for your own entity, your own company, and that's just what Triple H and CM Punk, I think, are doing in that case. It might have been a courtesy call just because Triple H has said it. We don't know what it really consisted of. I highly doubt it's a 30-40 minute meeting or a conversation of any length. It might have just been a courtesy, "Hi, how you doing? Glad to see you back," or "Glad to see you doing this," or that kind of stuff. I really don't see what Triple H is saying there by, well, there are opportunities to do other stuff with WWE at the time. I really don't see that. Don't get me wrong. I think WWE would love to have CM Punk back. And I know those reports came out at the time saying that Vince McMahon thinks CM Punk is crazy, which is funny because, I mean, talk about pot on the kettle black there. But they would love to have CM Punk back. If CM Punk rung WWE tomorrow and said, "I want to come back for WrestleMania," of course they would sign him because it's all about that. It's all about money. They don't care. They've brought back everyone over the years, whether it's Hogan, Warrior, everyone's come back and everyone will come back. And I know CM Punk likes to roll his eyes and say, "Well, not me," but if the right thing comes up, he'll come back. Now, what was funny at the time is when CM Punk did make his return to kind of WWE programming in terms of the backstage program, WWE Backstage on Fox Sports, they advertised him on WWE television for like 2 weeks maybe. They did the whole CM Punk return and all that kind of stuff, and then after that they just stopped it. Every time CM Punk was on the program, they advertised WWE Backstage. They said, "Oh, Renee Young, Booker T, Paige, Christian, whatever." They didn't advertise CM Punk. So at the time everyone said, "Well, what does that have to, what's happened there?" And it would lead one to think maybe they did have the conversations at the time. And Punk said, "No, I'm with Fox, I'm not with WWE." And they went, "All right." And then just they washed their hands of it again. It's just very interesting. It's a really interesting story. I've always said I think CM Punk will return to pro wrestling. I think if CM Punk doesn't wrestle one match before, well, just ever, I would be really surprised. Do I see that necessarily happening in WWE? That's where I think I'm a bit like that on it. I don't know if that's necessarily the case. Could he, if he was to wrestle a match, personally, I do feel it's more likely to happen in an AEW because I think there'll be more. First of all, I think, as Triple H was saying, they're not that willing to reach out to Punk. I think they want CM Punk to come to them, or I think they want to hear that Punk's interested in them reach out, and I just don't see that happening. I don't see Punk ever, just because of the kind of person he is, going to WWE on his knees or whatever and saying, "Oh, please take me back," or anything like that. I don't see that. I really, really don't see that. I do see AEW reaching out to him. They kind of hinted that they tried it before, and CM Punk said, "Well, you didn't really reach out. You sent a text. No one actually rung me, or nobody's asked me," that kind of stuff. And there was a bit of heat because of that at the time as well. I just think AEW are more likely to reach out. I think they're more likely to reach out. I think CM Punk is more open to working with them. I think there's opponents there he obviously hasn't worked with before that he is interested in facing, someone like a Kenny Omega, obviously. So I think if he is going to wrestle a match, I think it would be for AEW. I think AEW obviously could afford to pay him. Tony Khan's a billionaire, and if he thinks that it's beneficial to his company, his product, he'll do it. I think the only reason that CM Punk could go back to WWE is that he really knows that, and obviously AEW is incredibly well backed by the Khan family, who are billionaires, but I will say that I think CM Punk does realize that if he wanted to make astronomical money, we're talking Brock Lesnar, John Cena money, he would go to WWE. Even AEW, I don't know if they could necessarily, they could pay it. I don't know if for them it's financially viable for them to spend, we're talking again, Brock Lesnar, John Cena money, we're talking tens of millions of dollars. I think CM Punk knows that if he wanted to make that money, he could in WWE. There is obviously the question, is he worth that? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that one. I think that is a really strong debate with that one. Is he as popular or as well known as or is he going to drive ratings or pay-per-view buys or network subscriptions, I guess, in this modern age, like a John Cena or a Brock Lesnar? I don't know. I think he knows, though, that's why he doesn't rule out WWE, that's where the most money is. He can make a lot of money, though, in AEW, and let's not rule out New Japan as well. There's a completely massive pool of talent there as well, so that's worth considering as well. Now, One more thing I did want to talk about before we wrap it up was possibly the return of Kathy Kelly to WWE programming, or at least WWE television, as we head into WrestleMania week. Former WWE on-air talent Kathy Kelly has teased a possible comeback to the company, kind of. I think some people are kind of running away with this one. On Monday night, Kathy Kelly tweeted, quote, "See you soon," and got her followers wondering if she was on the verge of returning to WWE. With WrestleMania 37 week underway, it is possible that Kathy Kelly is brought in for a cameo appearance, especially for the two-night NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver shows. Now, Kelly quit WWE last year to focus on other projects while appearing on a podcast with former WrestleMania participant wrestler Maria Menounos. Kelly revealed that she couldn't handle WWE's grueling schedule, hence the reason why she left. So the tweet literally says, "See you soon," and I know people are going, that means she's coming back. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. It's something worth considering. I always thought she did a really good job. I thought she was a real great personality, and she was really good at what she did. And it'd be great to see her back, especially when it comes to NXT, because she is so closely associated with that brand. It would be fantastic, but who knows? Who knows? You never know. You never know this kind of stuff. But of course, as always, this is just one man's opinion. What are your thoughts on Triple H revealing that he has spoken to CM Punk in the last 2 years, and possibly Kathy Kelly returning to WWE television this week? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll do my best to respond and reply to all of your comments. Really enjoy interacting with you guys, talking about WWE, AEW, Impact Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, all things pro wrestling here on the channel. So be sure to get involved in the community, drop a comment below. All opinions are welcome. If you have enjoyed this video, please do smash a like on the like button. Really does help us out here on YouTube, got the rankings, and get into people's recommendation feeds if they haven't seen our videos previously. But most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to Wrestle News 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right hand corner of the screen right now, or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video along with another video for you to watch. Of course, it's WrestleMania week, which means we're going to be doing a ton of stuff here on the channel. We're going to be talking about previews, predictions, daily videos, live streams, and watch-alongs for all of the big events and big shows, starting tonight with the WWE Hall of Fame. So now is the best time to subscribe. Click the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, click that notification bell. You'll be notified when we upload new videos or we go live for our watch-alongs or reactions. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.